Small things. I don't think we need to waste a ton of time on it, but the first inning last night with Maeda's on the ropes, right? And the 2-2 pitch to Baez where he was rung up on. Obviously it was a ball. I know guys are going to miss calls and expect, but it's a small beef, admittedly. I just feel like for somebody who had no secondary stuff at that point and didn't look very confident, he didn't earn the right of the expanded strike zone. And I thought it actually may come back and bite the Cubbies. I didn't put a 3-run or a 4-run number up on him. But the strike zone so far in the postseason, what have you seen? Are you okay with it, or do you think it's been a little bit inconsistent?
Well, I mean, we've been talking about it. We've been talking about how they have that K zone, and the K zone seems to be off as well because every time you look up, when you look in the box, I remember saying on the telecast, it was 5 pitches thrown. And it was a full count on the hitter, and not one ball was in that box. And then the 6th pitch was thrown. The guy made an out, and it still wasn't one pitch inside of that box. And so we're saying these pitchers nowadays, they just throwing the strike pitches that's supposed to be strikes, but they're really not attacking the strike zone, and the umpires are letting the pitchers off the hook.
Yeah, no, I mean it gets frustrating if you think about it too much, and that's why I think the casual fan does it, because you're right. You start questioning the integrity of what's out there. But what you can't question is the bats of some of these Cubs who have been quiet but now are coming alive. Addison Russell finally has figured it out, and BT has had this conversation. We've had this on our show a couple of times. What it takes to get out of it. What's it going to take for them to beat Clayton Kershaw in Game 6, which is obviously an almost impossible task?
Well, to have 2 games like they just had, everybody, when you get in the playoffs, everybody thinks hitters are in slumps. And it's just a 5-game series and a 7-game series, and these things happen on the regular during the season. You succeed 3 times out of 10, but when you're in a series and you're hitting, 260, that's not good enough for the playoffs. You have to be hot going into the playoffs. And the Cubs, the last 2 games, they put up a lot of runs, which got the bats going, and hitting is contagious. And so no matter who's pitching, the Cubs' bats have to be feeling better about themselves than the Dodgers.
Talking to Gary Sheffield with us here on Tiki and Tierney. Sheff, when you're in a slump, I mean, I'm sure it's a little different for a home run hitter because you're always, you just want to get one on the screws and you want to smash one at 500 feet. It's probably a little different mindset for, somebody that's more inclined to go gap to gap and maybe didn't have the power that you had. But the mental pressure and how tough is it to change your approach mid-series?
Well, you can't make too many changes because it'll take you that much longer to figure out the change if it doesn't work. Then you're trying to go back to what you knew. Then the next thing you know, the series is over. So the best thing to do is, like I said, try to hit the ball line to line and not try to pull. And when you try to pull in the playoffs, that's when you're going to have a hard time because you're facing number 1s and number 2s on a consistent basis, and you may get a number 3 depending on the staff. But when you get pull happy trying to hit home runs, great pitchers try to keep the ball off the barrel of the bat. So you have to take what they give you and let the game come to you. That way it slows down.
Hey Gary, from a player's perspective, if you're if you're on the Cubs right now, and really I guess the same would apply for the Indians because they've had a long drought as well from their last championship. If you're on the Cubs, how much are you thinking about this media narrative of the curse, if at all?
Well, none of those kids was around for that, and but the thing is that you're reminded every day from the media, and so it creeps in your head. But it takes a head, like your head guys, your managers, front office, to kind of get these kids to understand you guys are good enough to win. Don't buy into that. Just play every pitch at a time, make sure you make the plays, get the timely hitting, and just focus on the moment and not the past.
Yeah. Talking to Gary Sheffield. Chef's with us here on Tiki and Tierney, 9-time All-Star, terrific career, 509 home runs, So, assuming, and who knows if this is the way it's going to play out, assuming that Kershaw has a relatively stress-free Game 6, and there is a Game 7, can you use him for a batter? Can he come in and try to get Gonzalez out if he, Rizzo if he has to?
Well, it's possible. Kirk Schilling and Randy Johnson did it on several occasions. Pedro Martinez did it. These guys, these elite pitchers, these great pitchers, have a way to come back the next day after throwing, 7, 8, 9 innings, and then coming back the next day and getting maybe 1 out or 2 outs, sometimes 3 outs, just to take their team over the hump. And I think if the situation calls for it, I think Kershaw would be more than willing to do it.
You know what I never understood, Gary? I remember saying this on the radio when it went down. I had an issue. I don't know why it wasn't done, but I'm going to kind of let it slide somewhat. Why there weren't a few bunts against Kurt Schilling the night of the bloody sock. I will never understand that. Never. Let him jump off. Yeah, well, go ahead.
I tell people all the time, and I was referring to the Blue Jays offense.
Yeah.
When you don't move the pitcher off the mound, he's sitting in his rocking chair. And as you saw, when guys start trying to bunt, things start happening. You see them start scoring runs. But we had the type of team where we had A-Rod hitting second, so we didn't have the guy that was going to take the bunt. These guys are home run hitters. We had Robinson Cano hitting ninth. So the way our lineup was set up, it wasn't set up to move runners over, and I think that hurts you in the playoffs in a short series. And I think that's what's going on now.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought process, and yeah, I know that team well, and I know how you guys put up basically felt like 7, 8 runs every night during the regular season. But at what point, Gary, do you not? And this pertains obviously to this series, and not one went down back in the early mid 2000s. I mean, if you're completely uncomfortable or foreign, if you just don't do something, I could not understand why they weren't running on John Lester last night. Run. I mean,
when you're in the moment, a lot of people don't believe the fact that he's not going to throw over. They was trying to force a throw, and to me, you're distracting your hitter more than you're distracting him because he's not really thinking about throwing over.
Yeah.
So you're doing him favors by not stealing.
Yeah, but Gary, hold on a sec. You say that he's not thinking about throwing over. I would submit that the fact that he's thrown over 3 times in 2 years, he's very aware of that he doesn't throw over, so he is thinking about it.
No, he's not thinking about it because he's not going to throw over, and that's what I'm saying.
So then run. If you know he's not, if I know he's not throwing no matter what, as soon as I first motion off a lefty, and you know this, I get my lead 15, 16 feet, whatever it is. If he ain't throwing, as soon as that first foot, that leg moves an inch, I'm gone. I'm gone.
I mean, that's why I couldn't understand it either. I mean, you don't get 16 feet leads, and when you're 16 feet off the base, pretty much you can walk to second.
That's what I'm saying.
These guys were scared to go. I don't know why. I would have took a chance, and it just if you would have came over, if you're 16 feet off the base, you still got a chance to beat the throw from the first baseman. So there's a lot of things that was going on that I didn't understand.
You're right. Rizzo's got to come get the ball. He's got to go toward the mound. He's got to go on the grass, throw a strike to second. I got you. Gary Sheffield with us here.
Well, what you do is you move towards the grass with your lead. So that way when he throws over, even if Rizzo gets the ball, if you move inside the base pad, now Rizzo has to come on the grass to get the ball to get it around you. So there's a lot of things that should have happened that didn't.
Yeah, that's you laid out very well. Gary Sheffield with us here, 9-time All-Star Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio.
Hey, Gary, we do a segment every Thursday. It's called Inbounds and Out of Bounds. And one of our questions yesterday was that the Cleveland Indians, who are another team of fate after all the years that they've been out of the postseason, or in the championship, I should say, would rather face the Dodgers than the Cubs. Who should the Cleveland Indians hope to face come the World Series?
Well, they should want to face the Dodgers. They have a better chance of beating them opposed to the Cubs because the Cubs are so deep in their pitcher staff. And as you know, the Cleveland Indians, they have a lot of pitchers that's been out. And we call the guy, the pitcher that had the drone incident. So
Bauer.
Yeah, Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, Trevor Bauer. I don't see him pitching at all. So Cleveland is not that deep for as starting pitchers are concerned. They have capable capable guys, but I just don't see them overtaking what the Cubs bring to the table. I think they have a better chance with the Dodgers because only reliable guy that they really have is Kershaw and Hill.
Well, he's not going to be pitching, but at least he can watch the game with the Martians up in space. So take solace in that, huh, Trevor? Chef, good rapping, buddy. Always appreciate your candor. Good stuff. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.